Hello, fellow internet person. Remember when Sebastian Vettel retired in 2022 and suddenly a wave of YouTube videos about the guy would pop up in your feed? I sure do. Pepperidge Farm remembers. AMV tributes, podcasts, or the odd video essay chronicling his rise to the top of Formula One. Funnily enough, not a lot of them actually seem to have picked up on what I consider to be the most important narrative thread of his career. Yes, he won 4 world championships. Yes, he kinda chuffed his Ferrari career by making on-track mistakes that seemed unnecessary at the time. And yes, he went from retrospective Tumblr twink to Grand Prix veteran to beloved beekeeper. But what if I told you his legacy in the sport, despite all the ups and downs and all-arounds, was somewhat doomed from the start? Let me explain. When Sebastian Vettel joined the F1 grid back in 2007, the landscape was rather different. Michael Schumacher had just retired as the most successful Grand Prix driver of all time. Of course, German TV stations and media outlets were clamoring for the next superstar from good old Deutschland. How else are we going to keep the casual fans around, those that proclaim that when Schumi retires, they're gone as well? And hey, look at all these lovely young lads we got to choose from. Yet when Vettel showed up in mid-2007, replacing Scott Speed for the rest of the season, he became the focal point almost overnight, the heir to the throne. Fast forward a few years and the parallels to Schumi Sr. were starting to creep up, like winning his first race in the wet and midfield machinery, coming from a humble background somewhere in rural Germany, gritting their teeth in go-karts at an early age, clinching a championship with an unknown quantity of a team only to lead them to a prosperous future in the sport. Sure, it might seem a tad bit superficial to draw these comparisons, but they were there. A few championships to his name certainly didn't hurt the high expectations in regard to his future name. And once Vettel joined the Scuderia Ferrari, those comparisons over here went into maximum overdrive.
I knew I should have gotten the
Merc.
That was his role, to continue the legacy of a hero in time long gone from the public eye, but never forgotten. The weight of a legend, of an entire sport's future in a country, on his shoulders. Gosh, I wonder who that reminds us of. Almost as if that could have and should have never worked. Even if things had gone differently, Sebastian Vettel never could have fulfilled the expectations put upon him. It would have taken for him to do what Lewis Hamilton did, add to that, and even that might have never been enough. Why? Well, he wasn't talking about the comparisons per se, but he himself put it best, talking about Michael as part of his Netflix documentary.
Es war keiner dabei wie er.
Michael Schumacher was a one-of-a-kind quantity in 90s and 2000s F1 racing. Nobody possessed the physical fitness, dedication, team-building skills, or his sheer and utter ruthlessness. From flag to flag, he was the undisputed top driver on the grid for quite a few years, something that Vettel, on top of his game, could never claim in the public eye. I suppose these two love bugs are to blame for that, specifically. And most importantly, Schumacher was the inaugural German F1 hero. He was, for all intents and purposes, the blueprint, the Hulk Hogan, the Jan Ullrich, the Boris Becker, the ultimate benchmark, untouchable for anybody afterwards. His impact on the sport and its perception over here is felt to this day. Bottom-feeding tabloids love leaning into his current predicament for a reason. There is cash to be made off the name Schumacher even in 2024. There will never be another Michael Schumacher, and there does not need to be. There literally cannot be. In terms of having an impact, Vettel never stood a bloody chance. To say that Vettel's legacy was doomed from the start might seem a bit harsh. He won 4 championships, countless amounts of races, and to this day is one of the most successful Formula One drivers ever. His overtakes, radio messages, mediocre flirting attempts, haircuts, helmet designs, or activist activities live rent-free in the hearts and minds of F1 fans to this day. Now, let's imagine all of that, everything I just mentioned, without the added baggage of the Schumacher burden. Imagine just for a second somebody like Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon, Daniel Ricciardo, Alexander Albon, or Carlos Sainz winning 4 bloody championships, in a row no less. There'd be no obvious comparison, no succession to be frowned upon the way it happened with Seb in his prime. And Sure, Vettel didn't really do a good job in hiding his inspiration. See, as much as his legacy might have been a wonky mess thanks to the public's expectation or him being perceived as a new merchant, I suppose he himself wanted to be Schumi 2.0, at least to an extent.
Ich bin kein Schumacher, ich bin der Vettel. Und wir haben den Kartboard angefangen, bevor es Schumacher gab.
He said while having a Michael Schumacher poster on the wall. Adorable. Going to Ferrari in 2015 is one thing. Being immensely emotional about Ferrari and his success there and his inspiration, yeah.
I don't know, I connect so many things from my childhood and with Michael, and that's why it was great to hear the guys singing then, and you know, I know it was me, but to realize it was me up there.
And guess what, Vettel fans? He failed. He massively failed in that role. So we're left with a career strangely unfulfilled, even compared to previous Ferrari failures such as Nigel Mansell or Alain Prost. Yet so vastly successful at the same time, it makes my head spin. Looking back, Sebastian Vettel's Formula 1 journey was always going to be strange compared to the rest of the grid. In a way, being fired from Ferrari arguably freed him of the burden put upon him by both the media and possibly himself. Furthermore, Beekeeper Vettel as a character is more interesting, thought-provoking, and straight up seasonable than a Schumi 2.0 would ever be. His popularity is one thing, though more remarkable and headline producing were his constant reminders of things people would rather ignore day to day. And, hot take incoming, Michael Schumacher never did that. He was, for lack of a better word, just a racing driver. Not to say Vettel's role model didn't do anything to help those in need, but he never publicly tried to be an activist compared to Mr. Beekeeper Vettel boy over here. His impact, though, in that specific role, only time can tell. It seems like Seb, by not following the famed Schumacher footsteps anymore, no matter how that happened, actually forged his own path and possibly saved his legacy from hated villain to adored hero or something. We came back around to the old YouTube essay about Vettel's reputation after all. To be fair, he doesn't seem to be the guy that gives a shit about how he's perceived, but that's what the sunglasses indoor person is here for to talk about. Let's see what's next for him in the realm of motorsports. Le Mans, a return to Formula 1, IndyCar, please. Well, no matter what, there is no need to feel pity for the guy. Quite the opposite. Got a wife, 2 kids, a beautiful home, I suppose, never met him nor handled his tax evasion, and managed to rattle a few cages in an otherwise immensely sterile environment. Thanks, Seb. Character development. Bye!